10-win, 4-loss wildcard Steelers traveled to Oakland to play the AFC West winning Raiders, who had a 9-win, 4-loss, 1-tie record. The Steelers had defeated the Raiders in each of their 3 prior meetings. The main theme of this game was which team could run the ball more effectively, and the Raiders' ball control offense had the ball for 10 of the first 15 minutes of the game. At 6'1", 225 pounds, Marv Hubbard was solidly built and looked even bigger because he wore lineman shoulder pads and every pad known to man. His equipment weighed close to 40 pounds, so now defenders were looking at tackling a 265-pound bull. Pittsburgh's number 82 is Dave Williams, and this was his final game of his 7-year career. He played only 1 regular season game for Pittsburgh and didn't catch a pass. This 14-yard gainer was the only one for him in a Steelers uniform. Number 60, Otis Sistrunk, tipped this pass, and linebacker Phil Villapiano knew what to do with it. He made the Pro Bowl in 1973 and would make it the following 3 seasons. Steel Curtain defense put on a heavy rush, and number 68, L.C. Greenwood, sacked Ken Stabler for a 10-yard loss, and the Raiders settled for a 25-yard George Blanda field goal to make the score 10-0 early in the second quarter. With 2 minutes remaining before halftime, Terry Bradshaw hit Barry Pearson for a touchdown, although it appears that Willie Brown may have pushed him out of bounds just short of the goal line. What do you think? At halftime, it was 10-7 Raiders, and they had rushed for 105 yards to the Steelers' 34. First 2 Raiders possessions in the second half resulted in George Blanda field goals of 31 and 22 yards to make the score 16-7 Raiders. Here's the play of the game in Steelers head coach Chuck Noll's mind. Willie Brown returned this interception 54 yards for a touchdown when the Steelers were threatening. It was a huge momentum swing and basically put the game on ice for Oakland. Willie Brown played the ball, not the intended receiver, Preston Pearson. Just 2 plays later, Bradshaw was picked off again, this time by George Atkinson. Bradshaw started 9 regular season games in 1973. He won 8 of them, threw 10 touchdowns along with 15 interceptions. The Raiders ran effectively to the left side of their offensive line all day long. Perennial Pro Bowl and All-Pros Gene Upshaw and Art Shell presided there. Both players would make the Hall of Fame along with center Jim Otto. George Blanda's 10-yard field goal made it 26-7. Though Bradshaw was only sacked 1 time in the game, the Raiders' pass rush cut off the Steelers' deep passing game. as the longest completion went for only 26 yards. John Frenchie Fuqua was valuable as a running back on short passes. He had 4 catches for 52 yards. Franco Harris was shut down as he ran 10 times for 29 yards, so they tried Fuqua instead on the ground, but he could only muster 13 yards. Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler was All-State in football and basketball at Foley, Alabama, and he received a huge bonus offer from the Houston Astros to become a pitcher. He hurt his knee in his rookie year of 1968 and spent it on the Raiders' taxi squad. He was retired for all of the 1969 season, and in 1973 he was thrown out of head coach John Madden's office after demanding a trade. Stabler was quoted as saying, "I believe there's nothing more to leadership than performance." After completing 14 of 17 passes in this 33-14 victory, I'd say that he was an excellent leader. In 1966, a syndicate led by comedian Danny Thomas paid $7.5 million for the Dolphins. In 1967, Paul Brown was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, yet here he was, an active head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. The Dolphins' defense only gave up 92.1 passing yards per game while allowing only 5 touchdown passes. They intercepted 21 passes and allowed only 10.7 points per game. Jim Mandich's dropped pass was only a few of Miami's mistakes on this cold 55-degree day. The Dolphins only committed 1 penalty for 5 yards. Bob Greasy normally had stellar pass protection. He didn't get sacked in this game and was only sacked 11 times in the regular season. This was in stark contrast to when he led the NFL in being sacked during the 1968 and 1969 seasons, when he was sacked a total of 76 times in those 2 years. Larry Csonka fell short of scoring on this run, but he later pounded it in to make it 14-3. In 1973, only 24 times did a receiver gain more than 100 yards in a regular season game. John Gilliam of the Vikings turned the trick the most, 4 times. Mercury Morris ran 20 times for 106 yards in this touchdown to make the score 21-3. Just when it looked like things were getting out of hand, Bill Berge of the Bengals stuffed Larry Csonka. And when Greasy went to the air, Neil Craig stepped in front of tight end Jim Mandich and raced 45 yards to pay dirt. Ken Anderson scrambled 22 yards to set up another Horst Muhlmann field goal, this time from 46 yards to make it 21-10. And when Mercury Morris couldn't find the handle on the ensuing kickoff, the Bengals recovered the ball and converted the mishap into a 12-yard field goal. It was 21-13 at halftime. Number 55, Jim LeClaire, recovered the ball, and he was immediately ruled as being downed. He was a second-year linebacker who had played 12 years for the Bengals, start 128 games, and make the Pro Bowl in 1976. Bob Greasy and Paul Warfield hooked up on another pass, and Garo Yepremian booted a 50-yard field goal to put the Dolphins firmly in command, 31-16. Miami's 53 defense was named after number 53, Bob Matheson. Despite being in total control of the game, the Dolphins injected some unnecessary razzle-dazzle by having ex-Broncos quarterback turned wide receiver Marlon Briscoe fire deep downfield to Paul Warfield. The Dolphins' rushing attack dominated the Bengals as they rushed 52 times for 241 yards and registered 400 total yards to the Bengals' 194. They scored 13 unanswered points in the second half, and Jim Kick paid dearly for the last touchdown.